all that UDFC Betancourt was able to do.
We are coming to you from Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City, where this afternoon Comcast Sportsnet presents White Sox baseball. It's Paul Konerko, Alex Rios, Juan Pierre and the Sox as they get set to butt heads with Zach Greinke and the Kansas City Royals. Hi, everybody, and welcome. With the big hurt Frank Thomas, who's sitting in for my partner Steve Stone this weekend, I'm Ken Harrelson. We get set to bring you the finale of this three-game set, and it will be the rubber match. As you know, we got rained out on Friday. Then last night we had a doubleheader. That doubleheader started at 6:10. Never heard of that before. We finished up at 1:11 in the morning. The bus left the clubhouse to go back to the hotel at 2:01. So big guy, a short night, but these guys can handle it, and they've got to handle it.
It's part of a major league player. It was short nights at times. But I was just happy to see the fight last night. A lot of adversity in those two ball games. We found a way to win the second ball game, which was a big game for us. So today, we know the work's cut out for us. We're not as rested, but we got one of the top pitchers in baseball to beat, and it's a tough thing to do, but I think we got enough to get it done.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. We have got a real good pitching matchup for you today. Two of the best young pitchers in baseball. Johnny Dank's on the bump for us. Zach Greinke for them. So sit back, relax, and strap it down. White Sox baseball coming your way.
White Sox baseball on Comcast Sportsnet is brought to you in part by the Lexus Golden Opportunity Sales Event. Now through September 7th at your Lexus dealer. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois. Member owned means our reason for being is your well-being. Experience wellness everywhere. And by AT KCA. Rethink possible.
To learn more, visit kia.com. By Kellogg's, the best to you each morning. And by the Missouri Lottery. Zach Greinke is 1-0 against the White Sox this year. He just barely beat them back on June the 30th. And as we look at those highlights, we also take a look at the Kia report.
Ryan, a lot of numbers there. You can tell in his first 13 games, the Royals' record was 2-11. Last 12 starts, the record is 7-5. Zach's record 7-2. He's only allowed 5 home runs. But the key today is let that bullpen rest. They threw over 9 innings last night, but only allowed 1 earned run.
And he'll face this White Sox batting order presented by M&I Bank, and pretty much the same batting order that Ozzie Guillen had for Game 1 of the doubleheader. The one exception is the designated hitter, which is Mark Kotze. It was former Royal Mark Teahan in Game 1 yesterday, but he had to leave Game 2 because of an injury to his right hand. This will be the 15th game between the Royals and the White Sox this year, and the first time they faced John Danks, who is coming off a bad start, but that's not necessarily good news for the Royals. We'll talk about that coming up. The first pitch is next. Kauffman Stadium in high definition, brought to you by Time Warner Cable, where HD is free with digital cable. Sunny day, it's a hot day, so the sprinklers keeping the kids cool. It's the final game of the longest homestand of the year for the Royals. And downstairs in the sun and in the heat is Joel Goldberg.
Well, Ryan, I saw players from both teams coming in this morning looking a bit on the tired side. Certainly was a late night, early morning here. Ned Yost said he might have slept here, but he had to get home and pack. He went to bed at 3, was up at 7, back in the office at 8 o'clock, something he learned from Bobby Cox, who on a day game used to show up at 5 in the morning. Now, the highlight as far as talking to players had to be Bruce Chen. 1:20 in the morning last night, he was telling anybody that would listen, man, I'm really a team player. I was here all game long supporting my team, and I'm tomorrow's starter. Of course, this was now Sunday morning. He is starting on Monday. Guys, at 12:05 in the morning during that Game 2 of the doubleheader, he turned to Bob McClure and said, hey, can I go home? I'm starting tomorrow. Guys?
Why does that not surprise me? Well, as one manager might say to his players on a day like today, it's a quick turnaround for both teams. So you really can't use that as an excuse because the guys in the other dugout are feeling the exact same way.
I agree, Ryan. You got to go out there and try to give it your all. And if everybody's under the same weather conditions, then you just got to be in better physical shape. The mental toughness is what kicks in on a day like today.
So that'll be a story today to see how the Royals and the White Sox bounce back after that long night. But sometimes the way it goes, the players will bounce back okay today. The question is, how will they be tomorrow? Well, the White Sox have an off day at home. The Royals will be beginning a 3-game series in Detroit. Zach Greinke starts the game with a strike to Juan Pierre, who had the game-winning hit in Game 2. A 2-out RBI double off of Greg Holland. And Pierre has a 10-game hitting streak. Chris Getz with a good backhand play, and that's a way to keep this game going. It begins with a good defensive play.
And Chris Getz really makes this play look easy. This is what you want right from the very beginning. You want to get that first play and get yourself in the ball game, and he was really relaxed after making a nice backhand on that one hopper.
It'll be Gordon, Blanco, and Jay Miller in the outfield with Betamit, Betancourt, Getz, and Kai Hue on the infield. And Jason Kendall behind the plate. And he receives ball 1 to Omar Vizquel. Omar started Game 1 and had 3 hits. Also drove in a couple of runs. 1 ball, 1 strike.
I think both teams are probably feeling good coming into this game. Both teams scored runs last night. Both teams had opportunities to win the game, and you hate not to win them, but it's not as if you got dominated by one team and you had to come out and try to win today. So I think both is going to fall down to who's on top of that hill today between Zach Greinke and John Danks.
And Omar Vizquel has 4 hits in the series. Well, we told you that Zach beat the White Sox back on June the 30th, but that was quite a game. And Zach just dominated Chicago for 7 innings. And the Royals gave him a 7-1 lead going into the 8th. And then the White Sox scored 5 runs on 11 pitches. I mean, it was ambush-like. And the Royals just squeaked out a 7-6 win. So a win, yes, but Zach gave up 6 runs, 10 hits in his 8 innings. Ball 1 on Alex Rios, who had 2 completely different games. In Game 1, he was 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts, but then in the second game, came up with 2 hits and 2 RBIs.
Well, Rios likes the fastball, and he likes the curveball that hangs in the middle of the plate, and that's where he does most of his damage. I'll get back to Vizquel. Vizquel is having a career. I mean, that was his 2,775th hit. And that's he's just quietly just sneaking right up the ladder.
And early in the season, he was hinting that he might retire after this year. Tough adjustment going from being an everyday player for so long to a part-time player, but because of some injuries and because of his play, he's playing more, adjusting better, and now strongly suggesting that he'll be back next season.
Well, I think he's playing for the right guy, and I think he understands what his role is there, and he's playing just enough to put his whatever he's teaching the young guys in the practice on the field. They can actually go out there and see him actually get it done, and that makes a big difference.
3 balls and 1 strike on Rios.
I could easily say he's probably got the softest hands of anyone that I ever played with or ever saw play. I mean, the ball just settles into his glove with no effort. Catching the ball going back to the outfield is outstanding.
Out at second base, and the Royals turn a double play. White Sox are scoreless in the first. 88 degrees at first pitch with full sunshine. The game started at 1:10, and the time and temp is brought to you by the parking spot. Easy to spot, easy to park. The parking spot at KCI. M&I Bank will show us the Royals lineup. It'll be Gregor Blanco with a 6-game hitting streak leading off, followed by Jason Kendall, Keila Kaihue. Billy Butler will be the DH. Then Wilson Bedemy, Alex Gordon, Jay Miller will get his first major league start. Then the hero from last night, Yuniesky Betancourt, followed by the former White Sox second baseman Chris Getz. Ball one to Blanco. 3 hits yesterday, including a long home run to right field. His first major league home run in 2 seasons, and he hit it up into the second tier of the party porch. So starting to hit for a little more power in the Indian series. Right before this one, he had a game where he had 2 doubles, and now a long home run in this series. 2 balls and 2 strikes against John Danks.
Well, surprising power. His power that no one ever talked about him when he came over. It's more of a guy who hit the ball back through the middle the other way, on the ground, uses legs, that type of thing. John Danks, I like the thing that he does. He challenges left-handers inside with his fastball, and that really it makes him effective against left-handers. This year he's not doing quite as well. But you can tell by the sound and how he stayed back on that ball. I mean, I don't think he knew he could hit a ball that far. But, and that was when late at night when the wind's not blowing at all. It's pretty dead in here, but he really sounded good coming off his bat.
He was so fascinated by that home run, he almost ran into Mark Kotze.
Right in his back.
3 balls, 2 strikes. Blanco is one of 4 left-hand batters in the lineup against John Danks, who is one of the better left-hand pitchers in the American League. But Ned Yost isn't going to shy away from putting lefties in there because the numbers seem backwards. John Danks wears down the right-hand hitters, and lefties are doing 99 points better against John Danks, who knocks down that ground ball and gets Blanco, who forces Danks to throw 9 pitches. Here's the Kia report on 25-year-old John Danks.
Well, you can see there what you were talking about, Ryan. 296 lefties against Danks, and that is surprising. Right-handed hitter's 197, so he's got something that's going down and away. Probably the changeup. If you look at it first time through, second time through, third time through, you get him early, or else he gets tougher as he goes.
And that is the case with a lot of good pitchers, and it's not necessarily that they are weak when the game starts. It's not like they can't figure it out in the first few innings. It's just that when they do figure it out and they get locked in, they become a different pitcher.
And really, 259 the first time through is not all that bad. So he's not giving up a lot of runs early in the ball game, and he gets tougher as he goes. So you're going to have to really put it together against him and get him out. Once you start him early, you got to keep it going to get him out of the game.
Kendall swings and misses and strikes out on 3 pitches. Here are the White Sox defensively today with an outfield of Juan Pierre, Alex Rios, and Carlos Quint, who didn't play in the second game of the doubleheader. Omar Vizquel, Alexi Ramirez, Gordon Beckham, and Paul Konerko. A.J. Pierzynski is behind the plate. Both Pierzynski and Kendall started game 1 and had the second game off. Keila played in game 1 and was 0 for 4, now trying to bust out of an 0 for 11. Second straight game that Keela's been in there as the number 3 hitter. Don't know if this is the reason why he's doing it, but he's got the pant legs pulled up to just below the knees, and hitters will do that when they're trying to break out of a little slump. And Quinton runs almost all the way into center field to make the play, and Danks retires the side in order. by AT. Find out what's possible with the nation's fastest 3G network. AT, rethink possible. And by Panera Bread. Explore a menu of hearty soups, salads, sandwiches, and breakfast items at Panera Bread. And in addition to the Royals and the White Sox, inside Kauffman Stadium, outside in the parking lot of the Truman Sports Complex is a classic car collection. And Frank, who is a big-time gearhead, he might be able to identify some of these classics. That one right there, I know for sure, that is a gray car.
Now, those are a little out of my league. I'm not sure exactly what those are. I was more of the muscle car era.
That's a Cobra.
Beautiful, beautiful car.
I think that was a Chevy Tahoe on the other side of the Cobras. Apparently, the Chevy Tahoe has become a classic right before our eyes. Paul Konerko with 4 hits and a run scored. The Royals kept him in the ballpark, kept him from driving in a run, and he has had an awful time in his career against Zach Greinke. Keela can't quite run down the pop-up, and it's still a ball and 2 strikes on Konerko. It's hard to imagine Konerko having as much trouble against one pitcher as he's had against Zach. But in 55 career at-bats, Paul Konerko hits 145 against Greinke. And that will go down, missing the slider away. And that's the first strikeout for Zach.
Well, this is one case where matchups, Ozzie Guillen doesn't look at this matchup as a negative. If these are my best players, I'm going to put them in there. And Zach throws this slider. It's up out of the zone, and that's probably why he was able to get Konerko to chase. But it looked like a fastball, real tight slider.
And now Carlos Quentin, and it's been no walk in the park for him against Zach. He has just 4 hits and 21 career at-bats, but 3 of those 4 hits have been home runs. And the White Sox are not getting good swings in this second inning.
And Carlos Quentin, he likes the ball down too, Ryan, and Zach just powers this ball right by him at 95 miles an hour. It was just in his zone, lower inner half, just threw it right by him.
Goes down and gets a slider. That's a pretty good piece of hitting by Quentin. So down in the count, no balls, 2 strikes. He singles with 1 out. Today's number for our Take the Field sweepstakes is 29. If you'd like to win a pair of replica Royals jerseys, go to foxsportskansascity.com during today's game and enter the sweepstakes, including number 29. There's a jersey winner every game.
You know, Zach was a little upset at himself when he threw that pitch, Ryan. He threw the fastball 95 in that inner half down and threw it right by Carlos Quentin. Then he came back with a slider in the same area, 87.
That ball just kept slicing away from Gregor Blanco. Carlos Quentin comes around third base, and A.J. Pierzynski, who is the exact opposite as Konerko and Quentin against Zach Greinke, he just wears out Zach. He does it again with an RBI double.
You can see here A.J. stayed down and away with that 2-seamer going down and away, and Blanco comes straight across Ryan, and then he realizes that the ball's going to get by him and has to do another route to try to cut it off, but couldn't get it done. The ball goes all the way to the wall, and as we see Carlos Quentin coming around from first base.
So 1-0 Chicago lead. And now ball 1 to Alexi Ramirez. So here are the updated numbers. And 44 at-bats against Zach. A.J. Pierzynski hits .432. He has more career hits against Zach than Paul Konerko and Carlos Quentin combined, +7. And now a hitter with a 15-game hitting streak in Ramirez. And he hits that ball hard and was almost screened by the second base umpire, but able to pick the ball out of the umpire and throw out Alexi Ramirez for the second out. And Pierzynski moves up to third base. So 2 down, a runner at third for Mark Kotze. Kotze is the DH. He started game 2 last night at first base. In game 1, Mark Tien was the designated hitter and then started at third in game 2 and took a ground ball off of his hand. The same hand that put him on the disabled list in early June, broke his right middle finger and had to come out. So Kotze is the DH today. One ball and no strikes.
You really hate to see a guy leave the game with the same injury that he just came back from, but it goes back to just paying attention to detail. Whenever you have to catch a ground ball, you got to have those fingers up, and you expose your palm to the ball, but you never expose the point of your fingers in the glove to the ball coming in. And I think that's where Mark's just got to get back to basics and concentration and understanding the approach to catching a ground ball. I mean, to have that happen twice and cost him ball games, that's kind of hard to take.
That's grounds for a change. That's hit hard to left field. And Alex Gordon is there for the out. The White Sox hit several balls hard. They come up with 1 run. Yeah, they already played it. Yeah. Nobody guessed you. 1-0 White Sox. Royals coming up in the bottom of the second inning with Billy Butler, Wilson Betemit, and Alex Gordon. Billy drove in 2 runs in game 2. Royals coming from behind in both games, winning game 1. And then eventually losing the second game. Very interesting with Tony Pena pitching the second game of the doubleheader last night. He hadn't made a start anywhere in 5 years. It was his first start in the big leagues. He ends up going 7 innings, retired the first 9, then he gave up 4 runs, allowing 5 straight to reach, and then he finished by retiring 12 in a row. And Billy with a 2-run base hit in that 4-run 4th inning. Grounded to Konerko. He's to the bag, and there's 1 away. The next Royal night is coming up on Monday, August the 30th. That's the Royals and the Texas Rangers. And on Royal nights, fans can buy $5 Hy-Vee level tickets. For more details, go to Royals.com or call 1-800-6 Royals. And the next homestand will include 3 against the Rangers and 3 against the Tigers, all beginning on that Monday the 30th. Oh, and 1 to Wilson Betemeet. Betemeet with 3 hits, a home run, a couple of walks, 3 runs scored, 2 RBIs. So kind of lost in what Unievsky Betancourt did last night. Wilson Betemeet was right behind him. In fact, it was Betemeet who came around and scored the winning run on Betancourt's base hit in the bottom of the 11th inning.
A very long night last night, but a lot of exciting things happened in that game last night all the way around, and there were some real clutch things going on. And I think I kind of keep going back to that sacrifice bunt by Alex Gordon and how he was lucky to get that ball down, but being able to do it and be successful at it, that was good on the Royals side. But on the other side, the White Sox had some opportunities where Juan Pierre wanted to move a runner from second when Noasi popped up. The squeeze bunt didn't work. So they're just things that they had opportunities to do but didn't do. Lillibridge didn't get the sacrifice bunt down.
That pitch stayed up, and it's launched to deep left field and gone. Betemeet ties the game.
Chevy brings us Fox Tracks and give us a good look at this pitch, Ryan. You can see that Brzezinski wanted this pitch down, and Danks got this ball up, and Wilson Betemeet was all over this pitch. When you see Juan Pierre goes back and he runs out of room, the ball ends in the bullpen. And that goes back to location. What kind of statement is Wilson Betemeet making? I mean, you got him as a utility guy, a guy that plays a lot of different positions. Now he's in a role where he's playing a lot. He's only 28 years old, and he's really putting the offense together for the Royals. I don't know if third base is his best position, but he's doing an outstanding job for the Royals right now offensively.
Well, now we're talking about 153 at bats. So, it's not like he's hitting 345 with 38 at bats. I mean, this is starting to become legit, but you're right. I agree with you, that is. The question is, if the Royals use him next year, where will they use him? Because he really hasn't had one position where he has stood out and given the Royals confidence that he's going to make all the plays. Alex lays off a close pitch and walks after the home run given up by John Danks. And that brings up Jay Miller. And boy, does this guy have a story. Out of the state of Alabama, he was involved in a car accident with his grandmother and his mother when he was 13 years old. And they both tragically died. He survived and was then raised by his grandfather, who not only lost his wife, but his only child. So all they had was each other. And Jay, not only an outstanding athlete, but a great student. He was on his way to Stanford and was not going to play baseball. He was going to play football, and he was going to be the point guard on the basketball team. He is still the only three-sport all-state player in the state of Alabama. His senior year, he was all-state in football, basketball, and baseball. And right before he took off for Stanford, the Florida Marlins convinced him to sign in the 4th round in 2003.
I would imagine if baseball wasn't in the middle of track practice, he probably would have made all-state in track also.
He looks like it, doesn't he?
Great-looking athlete.
So on the topic of guys that are easy to root for, Jay Miller is right near the top of the list.
Well, he had to really buckle down and really study hard. I mean, he had a letter of intent to play basketball and baseball at Stanford. I mean, that's pretty saying a lot right there.
Two balls, two strikes. First name is spelled J-A-I, so it looks like Jai, but pronounced J. And because of the death in the family, he was never able to figure out the story behind that particular spelling. So drafted in 2003, he got to the big leagues, and you talk about a cup of coffee, which is an old saying for a guy that is in the big leagues very briefly, just long enough to enjoy a cup of coffee. Well, Jay's was more like a sip of coffee as he goes down on strikes. He was in the big leagues for 1 day in 2008 with the Marlins. Didn't just play in one game. I mean, he was there for just 1 day and went right back to the minor leagues. And now, after being recalled from AAA Omaha, this is his first time back to the big leagues since then. So 2 down. Danks has struck out 2, and with Gordon at first base, here's Yuniesky Betancourt. And Danks throws strike 1. Today's league leaders brought to you by your Kansas City area Toyota dealers. Most RBIs since August the 9th. That was the day that Yuniesky returned to the Royals after the birth of his daughter. And nobody in the league has driven in more than Betancourt. And those other 2 hitters, Evan Longoria and Jason Kubel, are middle of the order type hitters. And Betancourt, for the most part, has been hitting 9th, and every now and then 8th. He has had 1 game where he's batted 6th.
Well, you know, Ryan, you can look at Yuniesky right now, and you can basically say he's a baby boomer at this point. I mean, he's leading the team in home runs. He's tied in RBI. And you talk about a complete flip-flop. I mean, he has really just taken this team over. And you look at the RBIs yesterday, you know, all those RBI he got yesterday with 2 outs. And that's about as clutch as you can get right there. And that baby boomer tag came from courtesy of Al Broughton. You know, that was his name for Yuniesky.
Because I was just going to tell you, that's a great line, Frank.
Sometimes you get a little help.
But like a good journalist, you always give credit to the original source. And Al Broughton, our associate producer, is the man in charge of all of our graphics, full-page graphics, or when a hitter comes to the plate and on the lower third of the screen, it'll have what the hitter has done today and some of his season numbers. And Al always comes up with the creative headline for those graphics. Betancourt strikes out. Danks strikes out 2, but the Royals tie it on the Betemit home run. He's from McClellan, Iowa, which is just east of Council Bluffs, and he is one of our You Call It Sprint sweepstakes winners. So he is enjoying the Sprint Suite with 11 friends and family, and one of those is his twin brother Jake. So as Joel will say, he is part of a pair of twins, which is just above us. And now they're all turning around to see themselves on television. So there you go. You want to enter the You Call It sweepstakes, and you'll be enjoying a Royals game right behind home plate in the beautiful Sprint Suite for you and 11 guests. And all you have to do is register.
We get a chance to see the old Royals up in that area. They're only 2.5 games back at this point, so they're in the race there for their division. So fun baseball in Omaha. We come down here to see fun baseball here in Kansas City.
Last year for the old Royals at Rosenblatt Stadium. They're going to have their brand new ballpark opening next year. Zach strikes out his second as he gets Gordon Beckham. And one down in the top of the third inning. Zach is the subject of today's Sprint You Call It. What do you think Zach will do today? Strike out 7 or more. He has 2. Allow 3 runs or less. He's given up 1. Pitch a complete game. Or all of the above. Text 432-432. Enter keyword Royals, a space, and then A, B, C, or D. Well, he had only allowed 2 earned runs over his last 15 innings when he gave up A.J. Pierzynski's RBI double in the second inning. But based on what Pierzynski has done against Zach over the years, it's almost like that doesn't count. I mean, you just have to go in and say, A.J. will probably do something against me today. I just have to focus on the other 8.
Yeah, just make sure no one's on base ahead of him. You're right.
Still 0-2 on Juan Pierre. Juan Pierre grounded out hard to Chris Getz to begin the game. Getz making a nice backhand short hop play to throw him out. And Juan Pierre strikes out. That's big news. He is the most difficult hitter to strike out in the American League. About once every 17 at-bats.
Well, Zach's made an effort to try to go inside and try to tie him up. He missed on his first at bat. He had a 1-hopper to Chris Getz. You go back to last night, they tried to get inside on him. He was able to pull that hand in and get that broken bat base hit down the right field line.
In fact, when you look at both leagues, Pierre is the toughest to strike out in the majors. And now a pop up to first from Omar Vizquel, and down go the White Sox.
gave us the instrumental version.
By the way, Don Miller. This is Jeanette Fennell of Leawood, Kansas. Her family made headlines in the 1990s after they became victims of a horrifying robbery in which they became trapped in the trunk of their car. After years of advocating with lawmakers and the media, the Fennells witnessed major legislation approved through the Kids and Cars organization and enjoying the game today in the Buck O'Neill Legacy Seat. Tied at 1 to the bottom of the third inning. And the top of the second, A.J. Pierzynski drove in a run with a double. And Wilson Bettamy tied it in the bottom of the second with a home run. And now John Danks walks Chris Getz on 4 straight pitches. Second walk allowed by Danks. And now second time through, and Gregor Blanco, he grounded back to Danks in the bottom of the first. But before that, forced Danks to throw 9 pitches. Blanco has hit in 6 straight and batting .274. And showing bunt and taking ball 1. Now, we told you at the beginning of the broadcast that Danks did not have a great start last time out. Gave up 5 runs, 11 hits to Minnesota on Tuesday. Ended up with a no decision. And this year, when Danks has given up 5 or more runs in a game, he comes back strong the next start. So 3 times before today, he has bounced back after giving up 5 or more earned runs with a 1.31 ERA. So he doesn't let one bad start turn into a slump. Gets runs, and it's not even close.
It's almost like Chris Getz knows John Danks very well. He just took off right first move, right? And a great jump off first base and made this real easy.
12 stolen bases for Getz, and he's only been thrown out twice. And now Blanco bunting to try and get him over. And is down 1 ball, 2 strikes. Chris Getz, among current major leaguers, has the best success rate. He is now 38 out of 43.
Yeah, Danks doesn't have a bad move to first base. It just he just picked the right pitch to go on, and I'm sure he, coming from their system, he knew a little bit about him. But then Rusty Kuntz always has a little bit of info when they get to first base, and he just stole that base very easily against a left-handed pitcher.
John Danks from Austin, Texas, and his dad was a basketball star at the University of Texas. And that's where Danks was headed until he was drafted by the Rangers in the first round. So Texas through and through, and then traded to the White Sox. At one point, the Rangers thought they had 3 aces in the making, and they were referred to as DVD, as in the video disc. Danks, Volquez, Edison Volquez, who's now with the Reds, is from the Rangers system, and a right-hander named Thomas Diamond, who didn't really pan out and just got to the big leagues for the first time this year. And now all 3 of those guys are pitching elsewhere. But much like the Royals are waiting on a good young group of players, mostly at Double-A, the Rangers, for a long time, their fans were talking about DVD and how they were finally going to get some good young pitching in their system. 1 hop to Ramirez, so Getz has to go back to the bag, and Blanco is thrown out. Danks also has a younger brother, Jordan, who went to the University of Texas and now is an outfielder in the White Sox system. So there might be a day where both of the Danks boys will be playing for the White Sox at the same time. Runner at second, one out. Jason Kendall struck out his first time. And Danks gets a fastball over the inside corner. And now down, no balls, 2 strikes. John Danks, when he was traded to the White Sox, he was considered the Rangers' #1 prospect. But the Rangers took a gamble and they went after Brandon McCarthy. Remember him?
He had a good arm. I know they really liked him a lot when they went after him, for sure. He never did pan out, but he had some tremendous upside with the stuff that he had. I think injuries kind of slowed him down once he got to Texas.
Most people in the game thought McCarthy was going to be a big deal. He had some major league experience. Danks was still considered a prospect, so the Rangers gambled to get McCarthy. Kendall did not go too far. Angel Hernandez, the umpire at first base. That was the exact same pitch that Danks struck Kendall out on in the first inning, a changeup down.
I had a chance to see all those guys in Double-A, Ryan, when they came through, and I remember Volquez, he was the one they were calling a little Pedro because he had a great changeup and a lot of the same demeanor. Diamond, he was a power guy, but had control issues with his fastball up in the zone. But you can see that all those guys definitely had upside at that particular time.
You don't talk about it a whole lot now because Rangers are in first place and they're doing just fine on the mound. 7-game lead in the West, but they traded away Danks. They traded away Volquez, and they traded away Chris Young, who went to the Padres and got very little in return. Jason Kendall is going to put the Royals in front as Chris Getz comes around third to score. And the Royals take a 2-1 lead.
But Danks tried to get this pitch inside again to Kendall. And Jason just brought his hands in. I mean, he did a great job getting his hands in to get. Watch how he brings it in here and throws the bat head right to the ball and hits it around a trademark. That's a good piece of hitting right there. If Juan Pierre goes over, makes that turn to try to get Kendall to second, but easy score for Chris Getz from second base. Jason hustles into second base.
So Jason Kendall is safe at second base. Safe and secure. New York Life. And getting that double on an 0-2 pitch after coming very close to striking out. And here's Keila Kaihue. Keila flied to right in the first inning, and that makes him 0 for his last 12. And since rejoining the Royals, Keila has just 1 extra base hit.
That goes back to part of that adjustment of playing at this level, and it's a lot different when you get here. He kind of breaks down his backside, and I think a lot of that takes away, from his power. It's almost like his upper half and his bottom half aren't working in unison at this particular time.
How about that play by Gordon Beckham out in shallow right field?
They learned that from Omar. See how his lower half goes, and it's almost like he just don't have a good base on that backside. It was like he was almost off the ground when he swung at that pitch. And you watch Beckham going out. This ball's actually over his left shoulder, and this is a ideal Omar Vizquel play right here. I mean, he makes that play as good as anybody I've ever seen in the game. He said he'd rather catch the ball that way than turn around and try to face it.
Because you're looking into the sun.
Right.
So Kendall at second base with 2 down, and now Billy Butler. Kendall, with his trademark walking lead, takes third base. And A.J. Pierzynski didn't even think about throwing down there.
Well, they didn't really try to hold him close. They figured with 2 outs, we're gonna go after the hitter and not probably risk throwing the ball away at third base. Vizquel did break to the bag, And that did leave a hole open there for Billy Belly if he chose to hit the ball at that particular time.
Still 0-2.
They find a lot of hitters in the middle of the order, guys who drive in runs, and it's 2 outs, and they got a guy on second base. He's jockeying back and forth, and a lot of times they'll just step out until they got to, to just settle down, and because they can see that guy out there bouncing around, and they don't want to be distracted. And when he takes off, it could be a pitch you want to hit, but you're so into what he's doing out there that you can't concentrate. So they like for that guy to be quiet at second base, and if you're not going to go, don't be jumping around out there.
Still 1-2 on Billy. He grounded out to first in the second inning. Pulled to short. Ramirez gets a big hop and throws in time to end the inning. The Royals take the lead on Kendall's double. White Sox in the final game of a 3-game series, and a look at the Roadrunner Turbo speed pitch comparison and some pretty good heat to go along with the weather today. Zach at 97, Danks at 95. You can double your speed with Roadrunner Turbo from Time Warner Cable. Getting the lead early in the game is usually a pretty good recipe to win the game, but not for the White Sox in this series. They've been getting early leads in all 3 games, only to see the Royals come back and win game 1, come back and take the lead for a while in game 2, and come back and take the lead in game 3. Rios grounded into a 5-4-3 double play in the first inning. He'll be followed by Paul Konerko and then Carlos Quinton. 2-2. There is no better hitter in the American League during the day than Alex Rios. And right on cue, he drives it into deep right center field, and that's going to get over Miller and go up against the wall. And now Rios is going to try for 3, and gets throw, comes in a little late, and Zach backs it up as it skips past Betemit. So he was already a .412 hitter in day games. That's the best in the American League, and now he's 1 for 2 today.
And those hands that start down and they go up, and that gets him right on top of the ball. And this fastball's out over the plate, and you can see Ryan right there. He just stayed right with it, didn't try to pull it, went off his bat really well, and stayed straight and all the way to the warning track in right center field. And this is where you see the speed of Alex Rios. So that's why he's in center field. He makes it into third base very easily.
So the tying runner at third with nobody out. And Paul Konerko, who just continued his miserable career against Zach Greinke in the second inning by striking out. And that puts him at 8 out of 56 against Zach. One of those hits is a home run. And there he goes and lines one into right field. Well, you were talking about that at the beginning of the doubleheader yesterday, that Konerko, he's always hit for power. He's always been a good RBI man, but hitting well over 300 this year because he's using the whole field.
He's just not trying to pull a ball as much as he used to, and he not only hits this line drive on this fastball to right field, but he's also taking that pitch and hit it out of the ballpark to right center field. So this is just the discipline that he's put himself through this year to give him the numbers that he's got.
And a fastball thrown by Carlos Quentin. Now Quentin singled and scored in the second inning, and right after Zach threw a fastball right by him, like he did with that last pitch, he came back with a slider.
And the slider's in the same area as the fastball, and so he wasn't fooled.
And now he's gotten 2 straight fastballs, so Zach learned something from the first plate appearance. No balls, 2 strikes.
You can see the frustration on Zach's face after Quentin got that base hit. He realized he made a mistake, and he wanted that slider to go away from him and not stay in the same area as that fastball.
And Kendall puts down the index finger, which means fastball, and Quentin is late again. That's right above us in the Sprint Suite. Zach Clemens, one of the winners in the Sprint You Call It sweepstakes, is up there enjoying the suite with 11 friends and family. And today's Sprint You Call It question is, what will Zach do today? And 38% say he'll strike out 7 or more, and 38% say all of the above. That's where Zach probably wanted that slider first time around against Quentin. Buried down and away, 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Well, you can almost hear Zach grunt after he made that pitch. But this game is kind of like a tug of war so far. It's waiting on one of the starters, either Greinke or Danks, to really come out here and throw strikes. Got to have a couple quick innings, get the game moving. Right now, it's a struggle for both pitchers.
Started to go and was able to hold 2-2. Quentin has 24 home runs, 77 RBIs, only hitting .236. Having a good at-bat here. Fell behind. Fouled off 3 pitches, and now has filled out the count.
Done a good job laying off those 3 consecutive sliders. You figured he'd get him a chase one or get a check swing on one, but he's been able to hold back, and he's forced Zach into a situation where he's got to give him a little bit better pitch to hit.
Grounded left side. Betemeet will go to second base, and no double play. That wasn't a perfect feed for Getz. Not sure if the Royals could have turned a double play. So that's one out.
Right, Ryan. That's where Getz has got to make a decision. And we're going to get one or get two. So just get one and get out of there. And I'm not real sure that if his foot was on the bag there when he makes this catch. You take a look at his left foot here. Oh, he did get it on the way down. Okay. So that's always a tough ball there. You always got to put that foot on top of the bag and push way inside to try to clear that runner.
One on, one out, and now A.J. Pierzynski, who drove in a run with a double in the second inning. That makes Pierzynski 19 out of 43 against Zach. They're both from the same area, right around Orlando. Zach was born in Orlando, lives just outside, and Pierzynski lives in Orlando. One and one. Grounded to Bedamit. Force at second. Double play. So a little better feed this time, and the Royals turn their second double play. And I think that makes you a winner, Frank. Coming up on the next homestand on September the 1st, that's the second game of the next homestand against the Texas Rangers. Fans can purchase all-you-can-eat seats located in the loge level, which includes all the hot dogs, nachos, peanuts, pretzels, and Pepsi products you can handle for one low price. Well, the Royals taking on the Rangers in a three-game series. We haven't seen the Rangers since back in early May, and they're trying to run away with the Western Division. They have the biggest lead of any division leader in baseball. The Angels and the A's are hanging in there, but those two teams are running out of time. Josh Hamilton having another excellent year for Texas. He was acquired in the Edison Volquez trade. We were talking about the old DVD guys with the Rangers. He came over from Cincinnati for Volquez. Bedamit was on his way to first base, and Joe West says not so fast.
Well, he can't walk when he wants to walk, Ryan. This is right on the outside corner, top end of the strike zone. not a pitch he wants to hit 3-1. So now he's got to really protect anything close.
And he ends up with a base hit. So getting pulled back ended up being a good thing for Bedemeat. He's 2 for 2.
Well, just listen to the sound of this ball coming off his bat last night, Ryan. Everything was just solid contact.
So Bedemeat 2 for 2. And going deep off of John Danks has not been an easy thing to do this year. That's a statistic that has really improved for him over last year. And before Bedemeat's home run, Danks had given up 1 home run in his last 61 innings. In fact, the White Sox as a team have done an excellent job of limiting home runs. They've given up the fewest in the American League. Alex lays off that. 1 ball and 2 strikes. On with a walk in the second inning. Slowly hit to the right side, and Bedemeat just gave up on the play. He has a chance to run by Gordon Beckham, so he didn't read that part well. That's a physical mistake, but then the mental mistake of just giving up on the play entirely.
You're right. I mean, he's got to give him an opportunity to field the ball, but he did have time to try to go around him. That would have been a play to make. And then once you don't do that, now you got to get yourself in a rundown. You just can't make it that easy for the team to get you out. You just can't give up just like that. You got to get in a rundown and hope they can make a mistake, and you can get to the next base.
I mean, you got Paul Konerko chasing you down. I mean, he's not the fastest guy in the league. You got to make the White Sox work for that second out. So 2 down to Jay Miller. And John Danks been getting him to chase pitches up in his first 2 at-bats, and he strikes out both times. Meet as the first sign of someone, and he's not the only one, feeling the effects of that long night last night.
Well, you might be right, Ryan. I mean, that's a play where you can almost outrun the ball past the fielder, but once that ball is fielded and it's thrown by you to first base, now you got to try to get to the next base, or at least get in the rundown. But I've never seen a player give up completely as Wilson Bedemeat did on that play.
And And he gets a ground ball from Alexi Ramirez and throws him out. So a good start to the 5th inning for Zach Greinke. He gets the first out, only having to use one pitch. Alexi Ramirez, with his 15-game hitting streak, is 0 for 2. So at the plate, Bedamit has 2 hits and another home run, but there was a huge mix-up on that play in the bottom of the 4th inning, somewhere, somehow. KCA shortening up. Zach anticipating a bunt to the third base side. I don't know if there's anyone who gets off the mound quicker than Zach does.
And he always knows where that bunt's supposed to go, and he goes directly that direction. Now, if you were to drag bunt, I'm not real sure. He's used to seeing guys bunt more to third base than to try to pull the ball past him, because he falls that side, which is his left side. He's going to be pretty quick that way. But, I mean, someone's like, there you go. He's got the release point down. He sees the bat head come forward, and even before the ball is to the plate, he's already started in that direction.
Now, maybe I'm making something out of nothing, but I would think it would be next to impossible to keep your mechanics together and throw a strike and be leaving the mound at the same time. And that pitch to KCA ended up being a ball. So maybe that could be a little strategy there. You know, if you show bunt, he's going to be so concerned about jumping off the mound that that's going to be difficult to throw a strike.
Well, it is difficult to throw a strike. When you get a good look at it, it's maybe in a sacrifice bunt situation, and you're trying to, rather than stand there making sure you give a good pitch to get the ball bunted, you more into trying to make the play than make the pitch, and that can hurt you in that situation.
KCA lined out to left field his first time up. Still 3 balls, 2 strikes. KCA out of the Marlins organization. They took him in the first round in '96 out of Cal State Fullerton, where he was an outfielder and a closer. Has an excellent arm. Doesn't play the outfield hardly at all anymore. And lately has been able to help teams by playing some first base. And over the last 6-7 years has been bothered by a series of back problems. Whoa. Zach's first walk on a very close pitch.
So that's, you can tell by the look on Zach's face. Taco Bell brings us Fox Tracks, and it shows where this pitch is right here. And I don't think he could have thrown this pitch any better, Ryan. And you can take a look at Zach's face after he doesn't get this call, and he just, see how he stays there. It just goes down just another level. He wants this pitch really bad.
Now, where was that pitch compared to the pitch before? Gordon Beckham struck out swinging last time up. And he's behind, no balls, 2 strikes.
Like most umpires always tell you, Ryan, I call them like I see them. So if I don't see them, I can't call them.
And a lot of umpires will realize when they've missed a call, and they will let the catcher know, I missed that one.
Right. And they'll let the hitter know at times. If the hitter asks the right way, they'll, unless the ego gets involved and you think every call you make is the right call, then that's when you get in trouble.
I always did find it interesting, though, when a hitter on a close pitch would turn to the umpire and say, isn't that high? Well, if it was high, I would have called it a ball. I mean, what's the umpire going to say when you ask him that question? I mean, isn't that pitch inside? Yeah, it's inside, but I just felt like calling it a strike. I mean, what is the answer going to be from the umpire?
I think the worst one is when a guy strikes out on a high pitch and walking away, turned around and asked him, was that a strike?
Yeah, if you were Wilt Chamberlain.
And the umpire most times, yeah, it was a strike, yeah.
Popped up, Keela running over to the dugout. Now the camera bay. Well, I didn't notice the wind until that pop up there, and it just happens to be blowing in from left center field. And when that ball was first hit, it looked like that was going to be an easy play for Keela, somewhere in between the camera bay and the bag, but the wind just kept pushing it to the ball magnet Phil. Phil's had a lot of action down there over the past homestand. Joe West rings up Beckham. Doesn't need any help from the first base umpire. He takes care of it himself. 2 outs. Let's go to Joe Goldberg.
Well, getting ready, guys, for a road trip, but when we come back, Real Royals trivia, as we do every Friday home game. Had a good time this past Friday. Our winner was Grant Pearson, who it came down to a 3-way tiebreaker, and we asked him the question about managers that have managed both the Royals and the White Sox, and when he guessed the choice of Bob Lemon, he was the winner. See, sometimes you can just guess and be a little bit lucky, and that is the way it ends up working. So had a good time with that. We'll do that again. And I was trying to come up with a trivia question for you guys on Frank. How about what pitcher did he have the most triples against? It's a former White Sox.
Kotze is running. Kotze is out.
I just won the Hot Watch.
So did I.
Yeah.
That's bigger than the inning being over.
Bigger than the trivia.
Come on, come on. Oh, done. Game over.
That's a bad day.
Yeah. He was doing his best.
That's a bad day at the ballpark right there. Come on, let's go home.
I mean, there's two things. Well, he did have his hat on. I think he had a yellow Chiefs cap on. You don't want to come to the ballpark on a day like today and fall asleep. You might, I mean, well, see, I don't think the cap's going to do anything there. That guy's face is going to be purple when he leaves today. Betancourt grounds to Beckham. One away in the bottom of the fifth. Here's today's AT&T trivia question. Who holds the Royals record for most game-winning RBI in a single season? Wow. Frank White. Mr. Clutch.
if that was me, I would be honored for that to be me.
Mitch Meyer with 95 game-winning RBI this year. Wow. One ball, 2 strikes on Chris Getz, who walked leading off the 3rd inning, stole second, and scored on Kendall's double. The other bad thing about that guy falling asleep in the lower seats is you do that rubber neck thing enough times, and you're looking at a trip to the chiropractor. Beckham almost dove by it. Getz is safe. Pierzynski backs up the errant throw. Did Getz make a move for second base? No. Angel Hernandez says he is safe. Wonder if Beckham could do that again, Frank, if he would have avoided the dive and stayed on his feet the way that ball kicked back.
I agree, Ryan. I always believe that you should try to stay on your feet as much as possible, and that's have your best control, your best balance. But once they stumble, then that's when you really get a problem. And you watch Getz right here. He did make a move towards second base right there, Ryan. That could have easily been called out.
Wow. Ozzie Guillen just came out and argued with Joe West. You remember their incident in Cleveland earlier this year. Joe West is going to bring the umpires together and talk it over.
But if you watch Chris's left shoulder, once he crosses the bag, he picks the ball up, and then he makes one little jab step towards second, and then he comes back.
Well, they're going to say that Chris Getz did not make a move towards second. And it is a move towards second base. I mean, the line doesn't have a whole lot to do with it. I mean, it makes it easier if you're running up the line and he makes a move and he ends up on the left side of that foul line.
Yeah, once he looked over his right shoulder to see the ball that gotten by, and then his left shoulder, he did make a quick move towards second, then caught himself and turned back to the inside.
And Getz stole second base against Danks in the 3rd inning. And with that stolen base, Getz has 12 this year, and he's only been thrown out twice. One strike to Gregor Blanco, 2 ground balls today. 1 back to the mound, 1 to short. He's hit in 6 straight games. Into center field for Alex Rios, so Blanco is 0 for 3. Also coming up on the next homestand, the Royals are going to host a back-to-school bash with another Inc. College Night. It's on September the 1st, a 7:10 game against the Rangers. College Night offers select tickets for high school and college students with a valid ID for just $7. Plus, food and beverage specials in the outfield plaza concession areas. For details or to buy your tickets right now, go to Royals.com or 1-800-6-ROYALS. Frank and I were double checking our rule books on that play with Chris Getz. And it is believed by some, and not accurate, that if the runner crosses that line, that's considered a move towards second base, and it is not. I mean, he can hit the bag awkwardly or whatever and get on the left side of the line behind the bag and not make a move to second base and come to the base safely without incident. And conversely, a runner can stay on the right side, even though Chris crossed the line. You can stay on the right side and make a move towards second base and be considered making a move towards the bag. And it looked like Chris did both. He crossed the line and made a move towards second. The Royals get away with it, but they are down in the 5th inning, and we are tied at 2. Verizon, the signal is yours. Wield it to transmit anything you want. Verizon. And by Chevrolet. Come see for yourself why 1,000 people a day are switching to Chevy. See your Kansas City area Chevy dealer. Father and son enjoying a hot dog out near the Royals Hall of Fame. Wind has picked up, continues to blow in from center field. So on an otherwise sunny and steamy day, that'll at least move the air around. Juan Pierre slaps it up the left field line and foul. Down, no balls, 2 strikes. Pierre struck out his last time, and we were telling you that he is the most difficult hitter in the major leagues to strike out, about once every 17 at-bats. Pierre is also grounded out to second base. 0 for 2 today with a 10-game hitting streak before today. One ball, 2 strikes.
Zach's really tried to tie him up inside, and that's what they started going with last night and had success so far tonight in getting that ball in there.
That's out of play. White Sox scored first in the top of the second. The Royals tied it in the bottom half on Bedemeat's home run. And then the Royals went in front with a run in the 3rd inning, Jason Kendall's double. And the White Sox tied it in the 4th on Paul Konerko's base hit. And Pierre strikes out again. So Zach has 5, and he's gotten Pierre twice. Today's copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Kansas City Royals. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Kansas City Royals Baseball Corporation. Ryan Lefebvre with Frank White, Joe Goldberg, producer Kevin Schenk, director Steve Kurtenbach, associate producers Al Broughton and Sam Abramson. And the producer of Royals Live is TJ McGinnis. Our audio engineer is Randy Miller, who plays music for us in between innings. And periodically we'll come up with a theme for the day. And today was All Request Sunday, where everyone that's a member of the Fox Sports Kansas City crew could make their request. Randy would find it. He's been playing it in between innings, and we've been having a little trivia question trying to identify who requested what song. Frank White went Easy by the Commodores. That was second hit for Omar Vizquel.
That was because it was Sunday.
Easy like a Sunday morning.
Yep. Zach tried. Kendall really wants this ball inside. Zach leaves it out over the plate, and Vizquel stays with it and gets a line drive in the left center field. And I said, every time you go, you wonder how, if you look at these highlights, always look where the catcher sits, always look where the pitch is, and that'll tell the fans that hitters only hit pitchers' mistakes.
And over the outside, strike one to Rios. He tripled leading off the fourth inning and scored on the Canerco single. That tied the game up, and that's where we stand right now. Rios is working on a career year, and just last year it looked like his long-term contract with the Blue Jays was a mistake. The White Sox picked him up off of waivers. They assumed $60 million. But he is 7 home runs away from his career high and 7 stolen bases away from a career high in that department, with about a month and a half left to go in the season. He is hitting at .292. And prior to this year, he was a .281 career hitter. So he's given the White Sox a little bit of power, a little bit of speed, and good defense. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Well, look at Fox Tracks here, Ryan. This ball is, like I say, the fans that see this ball caught by Kendall, they'll say this ball's low, but the grid on Fox Tracks is right at the front of the plate. So when it crosses the front of the plate, it's actually a strike when it's in the hitting zone.
When he batted in the fourth inning, we reminded you that Rios is the best hitter in the American League during the day. Not this time around. Zach gets him with a slider in the dirt. And that is strikeout number 6. Let's answer today's AT trivia question. Who holds the Royals record for most game-winning RBI in a single season? Frank White.
I have no idea.
Danny Tartabull, who had another one of his Royals records tied last night when Yuniesky Betancourt hit his 3rd grand slam. Danny Tartabull had 3 grand slams in 1988. Paul Canerco was about a 140 career hitter against Zach in 56 at-bats when he came to the plate in the fourth inning, but he singled to right to tie the game at 2. No balls and 2 strikes. Brought his glove and his Philadelphia Phillies outfit.
And she brought her umbrella.
Is that a Cinderella? In the dirt, and Vizquel really anticipated that pitch well. He was kind of moving towards second base as the pitch was coming in, so Kendall had no chance. And it'll be a wild pitch.
Well, he tried to block it as best he could right out in front of the plate, but Omar did a good job reading this ball in the dirt. Slick kind of late in the second base, though. I think he got one of those strawberries. He didn't really like that.
Left field. And Alex Gordon, right in front of the track, makes the play. So we go to the bottom of the 6th, still tied at 2. The 6th, Keelan Kaihue, Billy Butler, and Wilson Bedemeat. Royals 2 runs, 4 hits. The White Sox 2 runs, 6 hits. A strike to Keela, who was 0 for 2 and now 0 for his last 13. One and one. Keela out in a fly ball to right field in the first inning, and then popped out to second in the third on an excellent play by Gordon Beckham with his back to the infield, running out towards right. 2 balls, 1 strike. Both teams scored a single run in the second inning. Royals took the lead with a run in the third, and the White Sox tied it in the fourth. Pierzynski doesn't quite get there. So Keela's still alive at 2-2. John Danks has walked 3, struck out 3. He has gone at least 7 innings in 5 of his last 6 starts. And that could be tough for him today, as he is at 96 pitches with nobody out in the 6th inning. 3-2.
I think the one thing about AAA and the big leagues, Ryan, is that AAA, you don't get probably as many strikes thrown. Here you get a lot of first pitch strikes, and if you're a patient hitter, you find yourself hitting behind in the count a lot. And then they also change speeds and hitting counts, and they kind of take you to school. And I think that's what Keela's going through right now, is the fact that they're getting ahead of him with fastballs, and he's not really able to show that eye that he wants to show and that on-base percentage he wants to show. And then when he gets in hitting counts, it's usually behind in the count, and now he's got to hit something other than a fastball.
And the fastball is low. So he's on base with a leadoff walk. And the last time the Royals had a leadoff walk, they turned that into a run. Make plans now to head to Kauffman Stadium when the Royals take on the Tigers. That's 2 weekends from now. After the Friday game on September the 3rd, A new and improved Fireworks Friday presented by Pepsi and Hy-Vee. It's the Rangers and the Tigers during the next homestand. Royals.com or 1-800-6-ROYALS for tickets. Billy is grounded out to first, grounded out to short. One ball, one strike. One and two. Billy has had a very good attitude about all of the double plays that he's grounded into, and I don't know if it's his own opinion or if people have just reminded him that guys had hit into a lot of double plays, hit the ball hard on the ground. That is a fair ball, no double play, no outs at all. Vizquel got a glove on it, but that's all.
So this is what John Danks does to right-handers. He tries to get inside. This ball is way in off the plate, and Billy hits it right down the line. Vizquel goes over. He's in good position to make the catch, but you can tell right there that it's going to be difficult for him to make a play at first base. You don't have that same arm strength that you had at shortstop, and he relies a lot on just being quick with his arm. So once he gets that deep in the foul territory, it would have been a more difficult play to make.
Billy's still at 26 double plays grounded into this year, and that ties him with John Wathan for the team record. Avoids a ground ball and a double play here, and now 2 on for Wilson Betemit. Pitch rides inside for ball 1.
I think Billy just rationalized the whole thing as it's going to be a melody order guy, and chances are the production is going to outweigh the number of double plays you ground into.
And as we've said before, I mean, that is not a positive statistic at all,
right,
no matter how you look at it. But the league leaders in that department in the American League also includes Adrian Beltre, Michael Kadire, Michael Young, Derek Jeter, Joe Mauer, Alberto Callaspo. 2 balls and 1 strike on Betemit, who hit his 8th home run of the year in the 2nd inning. And now as John Danks is at 107 pitches, Scott Linebrink getting ready to come into the game.
I think that list of names, the only one that kind of surprised me was Derek Jeter. I thought he wouldn't hit in as many double plays. But everybody else in that lineup aren't fast runners and guys that can drive in runs, but also they can run. So they look at the production outweighing the double play.
And that's another thing that Billy has admitted to. Look, I hit the ball hard, I hit it on the ground, and I don't run well.
He said, running has never been part of my game.
Yeah. And Betemit strikes out. That's a rare out for him against the White Sox this year. And the first time he is out today. Danks has his 4th strikeout.
Well, you see why he's so tough on right-handers. See this changeup? The changeup goes down to the outside, and it forces the right-handed hitter to reach for it, as Betemit did right there, and that's why he's so tough on right-handers. But also that guy, Ryan, that hits in the middle of the order, that hits in a lot of double plays, he's normally on a team that gives themselves quite a few opportunities during the course of a game to score runs. I think maybe Billy stands out more is because the Royals weren't scoring a lot of runs during that time. And you look back at the game, and there's that one chance that you had in the end to a double play where if you give yourselves 2 or 3 chances during the course of the game, it would probably balance itself out.
1 ball, 1 strike to Alex Gordon. And speaking of double plays, he grounded into one in the 4th inning. But that had more to do with Wilson Bedemeat's base running than it did Alex swinging. This time it has to do with Alex swinging. So the Royals have grounded into 2, and the inning is over. The Sprint suite, and inside of that suite is Zach Clemens and 11 guests. He's one of the winners in the Sprint You Call It sweepstakes this year. Zach is from Council Bluffs, or from McClelland, Iowa, just east of Council Bluffs. And here are the final numbers in today's You Call It, presented by Sprint. What will Zach do today? 42% say he will strike out 7 or more. He has 6. Allow 3 runs or less. He's at 2. Pitch a complete game. He's at 88 pitches through 6 innings. And 38% think he will go the distance, or do all 3 of those. All of the above. He'll get Carlos Quentin, A.J. Pierzynski, and Alexi Ramirez in the 7th inning. 1-1 to Quentin, who singled and scored in the 2nd inning. Reached on a force out in the 4th. And lines that into left field. So Quentin has 2 hits. He was just a 190 hitter against Zach before the game, and is 2 out of 3 today.
This is not Zach's fastball here, Ryan. This is like a changeup that stayed up out over the plate, and Quinn took advantage of it. And when you look at the pitches that Zach's hadn't hit today, very few have been his fastball. It's just been other than his fastball.
And Quentin has not proven he can handle Zach's fastball today.
Not as far as I'm concerned, he hasn't.
Pierzynski gets the bunt down and out at second base, and no double play.
And that's what you talk about, Zach's ability to get off the mound. And he did a great job not only getting off the mound, but doing a 360 and throwing a strike to second base. And he figures the sacrifice bunt's coming right here. And he's got the balls on the ground. He's got the ball and feet are set. Look how quick that was. I mean, just as accurate as you want to be. I don't know how many pitchers can make this play as well as Zach make this throw right here. And just came awful close to even turning this into a double play. Well, that's what you call being quick as a cat off the mound.
Well, the story might be a little bit overhyped, but while Zach was drafted in the first round as a pitcher, some say he might have been drafted in the first 5 rounds as a position player. We know that he can swing the bat, and he was an excellent high school infielder, an outstanding athlete. So he probably could play anywhere on the field, but was a shortstop in high school. And there was a time during his professional career where he was thinking about hanging it up as a pitcher and starting his career all over again as a position player.
Well, that's true. I was at an All-Star game down there in Florida the year he was drafted, and he did start the game as a pitcher. Then when he came out of the game, he went to shortstop.
Trying to win his 9th game of the year, which would give him the team lead. Tied right now with Bruce Chen. Bruce will pitch tomorrow in Detroit against Jeremy Bonderman. Zach is also 7-3 in his last 12 starts. That's where Jason Kendall wanted it. He gave him a high target. And Zach strikes out 7.
He's hit the first target, and you call it. As Taco Bell brings us Fox Tracks. Jason wanted it up, but it wanted it up out over the plate, and Zach threw it up, and it ran up under the right to the arm of Ramirez. And it's one of those pitches you see very well, but that late movement coming in on you make you think you can hit it, but just a lot more zip on that ball than you would think.
Now KCA is behind on the fastball. He is 0 for 1 with a walk. It seems to come up every time we play the White Sox, the importance of not letting them slug you to death, as the White Sox did in Chicago right before the break. They hit 10 home runs in a 3-game series, sweeping the Royals. And so far in this 3-game series, the White Sox have 1 home run. And Zach, while he was giving up home runs at a high rate early in the year, he has corrected that and has allowed 1 home run in his last 38 innings. That's through the left side, a base hit for KCA. So Pierzynski moves up to second base, and KCA has his first hit. So 3-game series in Detroit beginning tomorrow. Ivy Royals Live begins at 5:30. The first pitch is at 6:05. 3-game series in Detroit. The Royals will have Thursday off and then play over the weekend in Cleveland. Zach is right at 100 pitches, and with 2 on, 2 out, gets Gordon Beckham. Starts him off with a slider for strike 1. Beckham is struck out twice.
You notice back when Zach was throwing that curveball right in first pitch, it wasn't quite as sharp as that one was there, and it was getting hit. Now that one's got a little more tilt to it, and the batter lays off of it. That get me over curveball for Zach just wasn't working.
1-1. Struck out swinging in the 3rd inning, struck out swinging in the 5th inning. White Sox have 8 hits today, but only 2 extra base hits. And back with the hard breaking ball again. It's 1-2.
Yeah, that's a real good pitch for Zach, and it doesn't give the hitter an opportunity to make an adjustment, and you don't see that pitch from him very often, and when it's not bouncing in the dirt.
A.J. Pierzynski is at second base. Mark KCA is at first. Miss with the fastball, 2-2. Trying to finish this inning with his 8th strikeout. He has already struck out Alexi Ramirez in the inning. And that's exactly what he does. Slider down and away. And the White Sox lead 2 in the 7th. Never been one to go with the flow, and he's going to bring on his closer, Bobby Jenks, in a Chevy call to the bullpen in the bottom of the 7th inning. So this would suggest that at the moment, I would think that Bobby Jenks is not the White Sox closer. He's been bothered by some back spasms recently. We talked about that last night. J.J. Putz, who took a blown save, but then ended up winning Game 2 of the doubleheader last night. He's been bothered by a sore knee. So Bobby Jenks comes on in the bottom of the 7th inning in a 2-2 tie.
The day off tomorrow. He's got another couple of guys down there, Ryan. I think he got a 7, 8, 9 situation, whether it be Jenks, Fultz, a line break, or you can turn him around. And I don't think he's totally happy with his bullpen at all. And I think he's just searching right now to get a combination down that's going to work for him. He really feels like they've been scoring runs. The starters have been doing a decent job, but the bullpen has been where the problem has been.
He gave up the game-winning hit to Yuniesky Betancourt in Game 1 of the doubleheader, and a run that was charged to Chris Sale. So Mitch Meyer will bat for Jay Miller, then Betancourt, and then Chris Getz. Strike at 98 miles an hour. A slow roller to Gordon Beckham, and Meyer is out. So John Danks goes 6 innings, gives up 2 runs, strikes out 4. He will end up with a no decision. He has never lost to the Royals. Today was his 8th start against KC. And now Betancourt, who singled to center field with 2 outs in the 11th inning in Game 1 last night to win it. He is 0 for 2 today. Let's bring in Joe Goldberg.
Well, certainly an exciting day yesterday. And, of course, we've talked about it, Ryan. He has been on such a tear since his daughter was born. And great year for Uni. Ned Yost talking before the game and crediting really 3 people on the Royals staff for taking Uni to where he's at this point. Eddie Rodriguez, the third base coach, of course, who is of Cuban heritage, really credited him for helping Uni keep his focus and making him more of a complete player. credited Kevin Seitzer for helping work on his swing, and credited Ty Hill, the strength and conditioning coach, for helping Uni with that, obviously, strength and conditioning. So 3 guys there really helping Unieski Betancourt with his season, guys.
Well, you almost have to also give Uni some credit also, because he's the one that bought into it and said, okay, I'm ready to do these things and be a better ball player. So you can never leave the player himself out of it. Because all the things that they do for him, he's still got to be the one to get in there, and he's got to hit, he's got to play, and I think those it's good to have those support systems around you, but you're the one that really have to get in there and do it, and you start by buying into everyone's program and seeing it's going to make you a better player, and then you go out there and get it done.
That's Ty Hill, Royals strength and conditioning coach. Still 0-2 on Betancourt. Interesting stat on him. Only 2 players have had an extra inning game-winning RBI after hitting a game-tying grand slam earlier in the game in the last decade. And the other one was Carlos Beltran. And he did that with the Royals. So a couple of Royals doing that in the last 10 years.
You know, Frank, you make the point about it really being on the player first and foremost, and it still brings me back to a conversation I had with Uni's good friend Adrian Beltre last year, longtime teammates in Seattle, where, you know, Beltre came right up to me and said, look, I love Uni, he's my good friend, but he needs to focus more. If he were able to try and then do a little bit better, focus, have better habits, then he could be as good as anybody in the game. He can be an all-star. And that was a good friend, not necessarily calling him out, but just saying, look, if he puts it all together, if he puts his mind to it, if he puts in all of the work, the sky's the limit for Unieski Betancourt.
I agree with you, Joel.
Well, that's what good friends do. Uni got to a point where he went from one of the best shortstops in the American League, and the Mariners looking pretty smart, giving him a long-term contract, to getting run out of Seattle.
But things may have just come too easy for him. I saw him in Double-A. He was only there a hot minute, and then he was on his way to the big leagues and had success right away and got paid right away. And I think you get comfortable, and you feel like you giving that 100%, but you're really not giving that 100%. And when guys tell you about it and you don't respond to it, and these are things that happen to you. So we felt when the Royals made that deal that this might be a good deal for the Royals coming in.
How about the last 3 pitches he just laid off? 3 pitches he would normally swing at, especially with 2 strikes in the count. Vizquel cuts in front of Ramirez. Uni is the second out of the inning. So this time around, Jenks gets Betancourt. And now Chris Getz, who was walked and singled, scored a run, and has stolen a base. A little bit outside for ball 1. Into shallow left field. That's going to drop in front of Pierre. So Getz continues his perfect day. A walk and now 2 hits.
Chris is getting back to where he was when he was getting base hit, he's just taking the fastball up, trying to hit it the other way. And got a little error into this one, but he got in front of Pierre there in left field. But just a good approach that he's having today. The pitch up in his zone, just stayed on top of it and got him a base hit.
And that brings us to Gregor Blanco with another chance to extend a hitting streak to 7 games, 0 for 3 so far today. Getz is running. And Blanco fouls it away.
So Gregor not happy with that swing. That was a pitch up out of the zone, and Chris had a good jump at first base, and he probably wished he would have taken that pitch and gave him a chance to steal a base.
Bobby Jenks, even though he gave up the game-winning hit to Yuniesky Betancourt prior to that, we were talking about the great movement that he had on his fastball. He had struck out Willie Bloomquist and gave up an infield single to Mike Aviles before Betancourt drove in Betemit to win the game. But he threw 3 different fastballs to Bloomquist that looked like they were right down the middle, but when Willie unloaded the swing, those pitches just disappeared down and in. Almost looked like split-fingered fastballs, except the radar gun was saying 94, 95, 96 miles an hour.
He just turned them over in the strike zone and got a little movement down in the zone.
Getz is running. The White Sox pitch out. And safe. Ramirez made a nice scoop, but I think Getz got under the glove.
It's awful tough to make that scoop. First you're concentrating on catching the ball. But, you see that left leg, Ryan? If you can just put that left knee on the ground, then that puts him in a better position to catch that ball and make a tag. If you put the right one down, now your left one locks you up. You can't go around with the runner. So he makes a good pickup, but his body's locked. He can't spin around and make that tag on Chris Getz.
Two balls and 2 strikes on Blanco. So 13 stolen bases for Getz. He's only been thrown out twice. And that just adds to his impressive stolen base success rate. Now 39 out of 44. That's the best in the major leagues, going back to last year and the year before. And the hard breaking ball gets Blanco. So the inning comes to an end with Getz stranded at second base. The 4th inning, and before we get to the 8th, Panera will show us the American League scoreboard. Robinson Cano has hit a grand slam for the Yankees, and they're way out in front of Seattle. The Royals will see the Tigers tomorrow. They just beat the Indians. Texas is in front of Baltimore. 3-run home run for Josh Hamilton. Toronto and Boston are delayed. Excelsior Springs' Sean Markham pitching for the Blue Jays. Tampa Bay, a game back of the Yankees. They are just underway at Oakland, and it's the Angels at the Twins. And that is the Sunday night game. Mitch Meyer batted for Jay Miller in the bottom of the 7th, and he takes over in right field. So Zach Greinke now with 106 pitches, trying to get the Royals through 8 innings. And with the doubleheader yesterday, Dusty Hughes went 2 1/3 innings. Joaquim Soria pitched an inning. Jesse Chavez pitched 2 innings. Kanekoa Teixeira pitched 3 innings. Greg Holland pitched 2 innings. 2 balls and 1 strike on Juan Pierre. So Zach trying to give the bullpen a break this afternoon. The Royals' next off day is coming up on Thursday, as Pierre lines it to right field and extends his hitting streak to 11 games.
Look at Juan Pierre. You always think he's up there trying to hit the ball to left field, and they started to pound him inside with fastballs, and you can see him making the adjustment to get to that fastball. So that's professional hitting right there.
And now Omar Vizquel, who has 2 singles today, but will probably be asked to bunt. And showed bunt, and then swung.
That's what you call the slug bunt. Jack throws a changeup instead of a fastball, and he pulls it back, and he's trying to hit the ball the other way, but that's why he probably should have left the bat on his shoulder. Good first pitch changeup, but if he's bunting, it's a good pitch to bunt.
.49 stolen bases for Juan Pierre, the most in the league. He has been thrown out 14 times. That is the most in the league. Jesse Chavez starts warming up in the Royals bullpen. Not running. And Vizquel takes ball 1. Two balls and 1 strike.
Yeah, Ozzie does have the option here with Vizquel's back control and Pierre's speed. They do have the option. They could put on a hit and run here and take the bunt off.
Well, 2 balls, 1 strike. You figure Zach's going to give him a strike.
Well, it's going to be around the plate somewhere. It's going to be hittable, and you just want to get a ground ball and hope you catch the right middle infielder covering. And he could opt to just let him hit away and let Juan Pierre just do a straight steal.
Vizquel has 4 sacrifice bunts this year. And he gets the bunt down, and Zach will play it to first, so Vizquel gets the job done and moves up Pierre to second base. And that brings Bob McClure out of the Royals dugout, as Zach is at 113 pitches. So out to check on Zach. Talk about how they want to pitch to Rios. And with an open base, you can't help but wonder if the Royals would rather go after Paul Konerko based on his history against Greinke. Zach threw 105 pitches on Tuesday against the Indians. His season high for pitches this year is 116.
Well, Ryan, he did strike Rios out last time, and you don't want to overlook that, but you do have such a great record against Konerko, but he also has a base hit today, so you have to go with the odds here. It may be one of those situations, well, don't give him anything to hit, try to pitch around him, but a lot of times when you do that, that's when you make your mistakes.
Strike one to Rios. 96 with some movement. Rios over a 400 hitter during the day. And the league recognizes that as the best batting average in the American League. 1 hit and 3 trips today. He has a triple, one of just 2 extra base hits for Chicago. And he hits a routine fly ball to right field. And Mitch Meyer, again, that wind that's blowing in. We saw a pop-up earlier off to the right side and the wind blow it out of play. And Mitch had to kick it into another gear to run the pop-up down.
Well, you're right, Ryan. He lucky had a beat on it, and all of a sudden the ball starts to die down in a hurry, and that's what that additional speed to get you right there. But if a guy comes in and settles in and then all of a sudden has to pick up that speed, he doesn't get it going. But Mitch kept his feet moving and didn't settle in, and he was able to make that adjustment.
And now it comes down to Paul Konerko with Pierre at second base, 2 outs. Konerko is 1 for 3. He drove in Rios with a single back in the 4th inning, tying the game at 2, and no one has scored since. Juan Pierre opened the inning with a single. Omar Vizquel bunted him to second base. Paul Konerko, 1 for 3 today against Zach. That gets him all the way up to 161. Didn't like that call. No balls, 1 strike.
Seems like every close pitch goes against you when you're struggling against a pitcher, and you just hoping he just makes a mistake down the middle of the plate, but you see Fox tracks, puts it right at the bottom of the strike zone.
Zach now at 116 pitches, tying his season high, and then flips the slow curve at 72, and it's 1 ball, 1 strike. So now a season high 117 pitches for Greinke. Got him with the slider down and away, and that's the pitch that has bothered Konerko, whether it's been in the dirt or the slider that he struck him out with in the 2nd inning. That was a slider that was away, but it was up.
I mean, it's just a pitch that he's disguising really well. It looks like a fastball coming out of Zach's hand, and he's geared to swing at the fastball, and if he can't hold up, ball's way outside, but yet it still generates a swing.
Konerko did fly out to deep left field his last time up. And a very defensive swing at a fastball at 97. Struck him out looking. 9 strikeouts for Zach Greinke as he gives the Royals 8 innings. So he gives the bullpen a break today, and he leaves with the game tied at 2.
Live. We will break down Zach Greinke's game as he shines again here at Kauffman Stadium. We'll have highlights, reaction from Ned Yost, and much more coming up as Paul Splittorff back with us. Guys, he said yesterday he thought it might be a late one for us, might be working late, so he took the day off. Actually, he was in Omaha for the 40th reunion of the Omaha Royals, a team he was on that won the American Association Championship back in 1970. Guys?
Wow, that was a long time ago.
That's what I told him a long time ago, and he just walked into the room right now and greeted me with a big smile. Jack McKeon was there, among others.
That's the year I signed with the Royals to go to the Baseball Academy in 1970.
Did you guys travel by train back then?
No, we had airplanes. My first flight ever out of the old airport to Sarasota, Florida was TWA.
Steamboat. Did you go by steamboat at all?
No, we tried to go by steamboat during the '85 World Series between here and St. Louis, but they wouldn't let us.
Horse and buggy.
We even tried to go by train, stop at all the little towns so we could have fun. Yeah, players don't get their wish in those things. Yeah, that's team. Buggy. Just jealous. That was a nicer, friendlier time.
Right field side, 3 White Sox are chasing. Out of play. Back on the field. Jason Kendall is 1 for 3. He doubled in a run in the 3rd inning. That put the Royals in front 2-1. The White Sox tied in the top of the 4th. And facing Bobby Jenks here in the 8th inning. Jenks came on in the 7th. So he stays on for the 8th. It'll be Kendall, Kaihue, and Butler with Joaquim Soria ready to go. Shallow right, and Quinton with the sunlight reflecting off of his glasses brings it down for out number 1. So Kendall 1 for 4. And here's Keela, who walked his last time up, otherwise 0 for 2, and trying to put an end to an 0 for 13.
I mean, one thing with Keela that I've been sort of watching a lot closer on is just watching his hips. You know, if your hips open too fast, it really makes your bat drag through the zone. You might hit some balls hard, they'll leave good, but then they'll lose speed once they get out there. But if that front hip goes too fast, then your hands can do nothing but drag through the zone. He's got to keep it closed and let his hands open the hips and not let the hips open the hand, bring the hands forward. Something like that upper body doesn't want to let the ball get there. He just wants to go get it and just stay back and trust the hands.
1 ball, 1 strike. Going for it all, and he's down 1-2.
Yeah, that's a little hard swing there, but when he strides to that hip open, and that swing is going to be long. You can see that back shoulder when it drops down. You see he gets under the ball, and when it should be on top of the ball, you can see the head goes, and he really doesn't see the ball when he passes the bat.
Got him looking at a slider. Keela thought it was high. Jenks has his 2nd strikeout.
Well, that's a nice breaking ball here. It's right down the middle of the plate, right at the top of the zone. It's too close to take with 2 strikes. That's one thing I think the hitters really got to be sold on with 2 strikes is, hey, you just got to try to foul that thing off with 2 strikes. You don't want to sit there and get called out in that situation. You foul the ball off, now you might get a better pitch hit the next pitch.
And that's a strike to Billy. 1 out of 3 today with an infield single. Billy is just 1 out of 10 against Bobby Jenks. That's too high, 1-1. So the Royals had a 2-1 lead back in the bottom of the third inning. They've had plenty of runners since, but haven't been able to push one across late. And it looked like Billy was taking a shot towards right center field. Down 1 ball, 2 strikes.
That's a good fastball on the outside corner. I would doubt Billy be able to do anything with that pitch in that location with that kind of velocity, but maybe just foul it off.
Angel Hernandez says no swing, and it's 2-2. Three balls, 2 strikes.
A good piece of watching by Billy Butler on that. That's a tough slider. Close enough to the plate to be enticing, but Billy offered nothing toward that pitch at all. So he's seeing the ball pretty good right now. The only ball he's been a little unsure on is it's a fastball up in the zone.
Fastball that was sinking, and Vizquel gloves it, and Bobby Jenks has pitched 2 scoreless innings. So we go to the 9th, and it's Joakim Soria into the game. Joakim Soria, and the Chevy call to the bullpen. We'll get Carlos Quentin, A.J. Pierzynski, and Alexi Ramirez. Royals get 8 innings out of Zach Greinke, who gives up his 2 runs. He struck out 9. And another one of those days for Zach. Not much for him personally, with an opportunity to get a victory. He certainly pitched good enough to get the win as Quentin flies out to left field. But for Zach, that's his 18th quality start this year, and only 7 wins out of all those quality starts. He is still the subject of today's Chevrolet play of the game.
But Ryan, when you told a hitter on a slider that he can't hit and he starts to look for it, and this is when you power the fastball right by him, and as Zach did to Paul Konerko.
9 strikeouts, 2 against Konerko, and Zach only walked 1. Pierzynski went around. AJ, 1 hit and 3 trips. Drove in a run with a double way back in the second inning. 1 ball, 1 strike. Royals trying to win back-to-back series and finish with a winning record on the homestand. They split 4 with the Yankees, took 2 out of 3 from the Indians, and now split the first 2 with Chicago. This would be a disappointing series for the White Sox, obviously, if they lose. They're in a stretch right now. 16 of 22 games against teams below 500. So as they chase Minnesota in the Central and are 4 games back coming into today, you figure they see that as a big opportunity. Ozzie Guillen has cautioned his teams. You don't just show up and beat teams that are below 500. You still have to play the game, but an opportunity is out there. Pierzynski snapped his bat and drops one out into center field for a base hit with 1 out.
Anytime you hear that bat crack way up here, Ryan, you know that's a pretty good pitch. He's right above the trademark, got it in on him, and you can listen to the sound. And that you sound like the ball's hit well, but that's bat breaking right there, and the ball loops out into center field for a base hit.
Ramirez thinking about laying down a bunt. Soria pitched in game 1 last night and turned in a scoreless 10th inning. Did not face Ramirez in the inning, and Ramirez is 0 for 3 against Soria.
Well, Joaquin's worked 11 consecutive games spanning 11 innings, Ryan, and hasn't allowed a run yet. So he's been real consistent in 8 and 8 and save opportunities. So he's been about as consistent a starter in Major League Baseball.
Last 2 outings now in non-save situations. Curveball gets away from Kendall. Sounded like it got a lot of glove, and it's ruled a pass ball.
Now, if you look at this pitch here, it's almost like he just didn't follow the ball into the glove. You can see his head kind of go away from it. It's almost like he was sure he had it, just didn't see it all the way in and caught it too far behind him, and the ball went off the end of the glove. That's one of those balls, Ryan, where you're just so sure you got it, and next thing you know, it's gone right by you.
Just missed. Wow.
Well, you tell you, Fox Tracks always tells the tale right there,
Man.
Ryan. That's a perfect pitch, and those are the kind of pitches that pitching coaches try to get their pitchers to throw all the time, and when they do get him there, he doesn't get that strike.
Ramirez so far 0 for 3 today. So his 15-game hitting streak could be on the line right here. And drilled to left field. Alex is back. Pierzynski is playing it halfway. So Ramirez is 0 for 4. And Pierzynski at second base with 2 outs. And now Mark Kotze. One for 4, and his 1 hit was a single. Today, 1 for 2. And that's into left field. This time Alex comes up for it, slides, almost slid under it, makes the catch, and we will go to the bottom of the 9th inning with Bedemeet, Gordon, and Meyer coming up. Close games, 3 games that go down to the very end. And Bobby Jenks will stay on for a 3rd straight inning as the Royals will bring up Wilson Betemit, who is homered today, Alex Gordon, and then Mitch Meyer.
This is back in the 2nd inning. Jenks left the pitch up out over the plate, and Wilson parked it in the left field bullpen.
So 2 out of 3 with a home run, his 8th of the year, and now has 4 home runs from both sides of the plate. 1 ball, 1 strike from Jenks. And Betemit has only seen Jenks once, and he struck out. So with the doubleheader, both teams needing either the starter to go a little bit deeper or something extra from the bullpen. The Royals got the starters version with Zach Greinke going 8, and the White Sox getting the bullpen version, Bobby Jenks going 3 innings. When was the last time Bobby Jenks went 3 innings? Don't know, but he's been very effective so far. He strikes out his 3rd.
He's been very good. You're so used to seeing all the power from Bobby Jenks, but here, nice little 84-mile-an-hour off-speed pitch right on the outside corner. That's something you don't think he'd have in his arsenal. Normally, you get to see him do everything's power when he comes out of that bullpen in a closing role.
Fouled away by Alex. 0 for 2 with a walk. He's grounded into a double play twice. Just made a nice play to end the top of the 9th inning.
Yeah, with the game on the line, you see Brzezinski's trying to score here. Alex comes in and slides right under this ball and makes a nice catch to end the inning. I think that's one of the other things Alex got to continue to work on is knowing what balls you need to try to do that slide on and what balls you can stay on your feet and try to run through. So it's been a process, but I've been impressed with the way he's been able to not only catch the ball, but how quickly he gets it back to the infield. He gets on his feet, gets it back to the cutoff man, and he doesn't try to guess what the runner's going to do. And I always tell my outfielders, as long as you hit the cutoff man, you never mess up.
I've always felt that when an infielder moves to the outfield, as long as he has a strong arm, they're always going to be pretty accurate because they're used to making shorter throws, more accurate throws. Alex strikes out on 3 pitches, and that's 4 for Jenks. They know that there is very little room for error, infielders do, when they throw over to first base. You can't so-called miss the cutoff man when you're an infielder. And we saw the same thing from Mark Teahan. Remember when he moved to right field, all of a sudden he was extremely accurate.
Right.
Tied the Royals team record for outfield assists his first year moving to the outfield. So 2 outs and nobody on. And Mitch Meyer, who has batted once and grounded out to second base.
Well, the Royals would love to see a repeat today of last night. Mitch hits a triple with Yuniesky coming up next.
Beckham, great play. And the never-ending series will go to extra innings again. season long, Jack Link's beef jerky, feed your wild side. And a wild series. All 3 games going to extra innings after the rain out on Friday. A doubleheader that started at 6 o'clock last night. It took the Royals and White Sox over 6.5 hours to play the doubleheader. They split the series. Sean O'Sullivan pitched a scoreless inning that was washed away with the game on Friday night. So he will come out of the bullpen. And typically 2 days after a pitcher's start is his side session, where he'll go out to the mound and work on his mechanics, work on some pitches, go anywhere from 75 to 90% effort. So this would be the day that he'd be throwing off the mound anyway. The Royals need some help with all the pitching they've had to use. So he comes on for the 10th inning, and with 1 pitch gets Gordon Beckham to fly out to right field. Royals are 1-1 in this series in extra innings and 8-5 overall. White Sox have had their problems going past 9 innings this year. And a strike to Juan Pierre. 4 at-bats, 1 hit so far for Juan Pierre. And that 1 hit gives him an 11-game hitting streak. 1-1. Scott Linebrink getting ready for the bottom of the 10th inning. 2 balls, 1 strike. Grounded. Bedemy jumps up, plucks it out of the sky, and throws out Pierre.
That's a very instinctive play. Being that close in on the grass and being able to make that kind of reaction time just speaks to the athletic ability of Wilson Bedemy on this play. I mean, this is a great vertical on this play. Didn't have time to get his feet set. Just had to go straight up and made a nice play. Keela does a good job stretching out to help that play out.
And even though Alex Gordon was shallow in left field, a ball like that from a left-hand batter is going to have a lot of side spin on it. So if it gets over Bedemy, that thing is going to kick to the left. And Juan Pierre may very well end up at second base.
Yeah, Alex would have had to really make a great play to keep him off second base on that play there.
1-1 on Omar Vizquel. 2 singles and a sacrifice bunt. After Pierre led off with a single in the 8th inning, Vizquel got him to second. And Rios and Canerco couldn't get him home. 3-0. Three balls, 1 strike. In his first 2 big league stints with the Angels, O'Sullivan bounced back and forth between the rotation and the bullpen, so this isn't completely foreign to him. And he lets Vizquel get away with a walk, and that means some of the muscle in the White Sox order comes up with a man at first base.
Hey, one thing about starting and relieving, Ryan, is when you start a game, you know you can give a run up in the first inning and still have a lot of time to regroup. But when you're in a tie ball game in the 9th inning, you have to get outs, and you really can't a lot of times feel like you're a pitcher out there. You got to go out there and just try to get the ball over the plate, get it down, and try to get out of the inning. You don't want to keep those deep counts going.
O'Sullivan, in a matchup that was a race because of the rainout, got Alex Rios to foul out to first on Friday night. Omar Vizquel takes off early, and a balk is called. And Sean O'Sullivan standing stunned on the mound, wondering what he did wrong. Well, we just talked about that the other day.
Yep,
we were in Seattle.
His first move was to first base, rather than spinning and throwing the ball to second base. If he spins it, if he do an inside move and throws to the second base, he may not call a balk. But when he spun to first base and didn't throw, then that's the balk right there.
There's a difference between clearly stepping off the rubber, and then you can do whatever you want.
Right.
But when you spin and turn like that, you have to make a throw to first base, even with the runner going. So that answers the question that I had in Seattle. Funny how that works out. That play involves Zach Greinke. I think Sean Figgins was at first base, and he took off, and Zach had in his mind that he was going to pick off over at first base. So he turned, and he followed through with the throw to first, and then the throw down to second was too late. And I wondered, if the runner leaves first base, does that eliminate that rule since he's abandoning first base? But as the rule states, he is still the runner at first until he gets to second.
So that's how it was explained to me by the umpires there. It's all about that distinct stepping off. If he takes off and Sean steps off, now he can spin and throw the ball to second base. But the act of picking a guy off first base, that's where the ball came from.
Two balls, two strikes to Rios. And we'll do it again at 2-2.
With a smart runner on second base, Ryan, he can tell in Rios, hey, don't worry about trying to pull the ball. Look at all this area up the middle. Just hit it right back through the middle. That's all you have to do.
Wide to center field. Blanco is there, so the balk doesn't hurt O'Sullivan and the Royals, and we go to the bottom of the 10th inning. Since the White Sox tied the game in the top of the 4th inning, White Sox just got 3 innings out of their closer, Bobby Jenks, and now Scott Linebrink in the 10th. with Unievsky Betancourt, Chris Getz, and Gregor Blanco coming up. Linebrink pitched in Game 2 of the doubleheader last night and gave up Gregor Blanco's long home run. That made it a one-run game. The Royals tied it in the bottom of the ninth, and Chicago ended up winning it in the 10th. So after a game of heroic proportions last night, or games, I should say, both games of the doubleheader, Unievsky Betancourt has been quiet today. 0 for 3 with a strikeout and 2 groundouts. One ball, one strike. Four hits, a grand slam, 6 RBIs in the doubleheader for Betancourt. 5 RBIs in Game 1, tying a career high. And you don't normally see him let fastballs pass by like that. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
He was ready for that first one. It was up out of the zone, but he was trying to end it all with one swing. And that's the ball right there. That's the pitch right there that he's really good on right there. And he fouled that one off. And I don't think they want to live in there too long with Unievsky with that pitch. You have more success with him when you go away.
Still 1 ball, 2 strikes. So an 11-inning game for the first one. 10 innings for the nightcap, and now at least 10 innings today. It's been over 10 years since the Royals have had a series with 3 consecutive extra inning games. That was an interleague series with the Pirates back in June of 2000. And that series went 10 innings, then 12, then 10 again. Popped up, and Vizquel shading his eyes, makes the catch in the third base coach's box, and Uni is 0 for 4. And here's Chris Getz. 2 singles, 2 stolen bases, and a run scored. Taken by the White Sox in the 4th round of 2005 out of Michigan. You might remember at the end of the 2008 season, he got his first big league hit against the Royals. And not just against any Royal, against left-hander Josh Newman, which doesn't mean anything in Royals history, but Josh Newman played for Ohio State, which is Michigan's biggest rival, and Getz faced him in college and got his first big league hit against him in 2008, and then fought through some injuries last year. Getz had to deal with an oblique injury, which at the end of the year turned out to be a hernia. Also played part of the year with a broken finger. And he strikes out. So the first time he is retired today, and now 2 down.
Well, Chris usually a little pesky with 2 strikes, Ryan. You see this pitch is off the plate, and he's showing a good eye right there. I doubt if he could have put it in play, but you know, it shows that he is seeing the ball well and sees that pitch is off the plate. Even though he didn't get that call, he didn't do anything wrong.
And ball 1 to Gregor Blanco. 0 for 4 so far today. And this was against Scott Linebrink last night. Whack!
Now this is muscling up right here. This is something that we haven't seen till last night, that kind of power out of the bat of Gregor Blanco. And even he was amazed because he kept an eye on it and forgot that Mark Kotze was standing right there in the baseline.
Three balls and no strikes. Linebrink shocked that wasn't called a strike. Three and one. Blanco is on with 2 outs. Linebrink felt like he threw more than one strike in that sequence to Blanco. So he'll walk around the mound to try and cool himself off, and AJ Pierzynski is going to come out and try and do the same thing. This is the pitch he was upset about.
You go back to ball 3 here, Ryan, and this is one that he really thought he should have had.
Gee, I wonder why.
But as usual in this series, everything all the excitement kind of starts with 2 outs.
Maybe the lights went out. So now Kendall and Linebrink. Strike one.
I think some of the concern of Joe West last night was when were the lights going to come back on, and whether or not the home team will get the advantage of the lights when they came on. You know, they have that rule that when the lights come on, they can only, if you're a home team, they can only come on during the visitors at bat.
Safe at second base. Ramirez tried to sell the second base umpire Dan Bellino that he made the tag, so he was headed to the third base dugout, but Bellino wouldn't go for it.
Well, Blanco had a great jump too, Ryan, and I tell you, you're better off to stay in there and stay with that tag than to run out of there real quick. Just stay with the tag and ride him out and hope you get the call. But the umpire's already made his mind up at that point whether he was going to call him safe or out. But you see how when Ramirez tagged that foot, he had that foot came off the base right there. So you stay with that, you may be able to ride him right off the base and get the call.
Now, Ozzie Guillen may have been looking at the matchups, if you go back to the history between Linebrink and Jason Kendall. And if you're Ozzie Guillen and you're Scott Linebrink, it doesn't look very good. Kendall has done quite well against Linebrink.
I think he's also telling his defense in this situation, Ryan, if Blanco wants to steal third base, let him go ahead and steal third base, but play your defense. Don't give any defensive positioning away.
There's also an open base here, and Keila Kaihue on deck. And Blanco does take third, and A.J. Pierzynski gets the ball back to the mound before Blanco slides in at third.
Well, I'm really surprised that Vizquel went to the bag on that play. I mean, A.J.'s saying, I'm not going to even try, but.
So maybe that did not come up during the conversation. Two balls, two strikes.
Well, my whole thinking is, Ryan, if you're going to hold him on at second base, if your second baseman's going to get over there and hold him on, then, okay, you worry about him going to third base. But when you're going to let him get halfway to third base and none of your middle infielders are even approaching holding him on at third base, then why even try to cover third base? He can walk into third base on that steal.
So will he challenge Kendall or go after Keila, who is 0 for his last 14? Challenges Kendall into left center field, and the Royals win it. So Jason Kendall, who already owns Scott Linebrink, He was a .538 hitter against Linebrink before that 3-2 pitch. And the White Sox decided to go after him rather than Kila Kaihue. So that works out for the Royals. They win the game and they win the series. Three to 2 Royals in 10 innings. Let's go down to the field, and here's Joel Goldberg.
All right, Ryan, thank you very much. Joined by a couple of the Royals just involved in that last play, the walk-off win. First off, Jason Kendall, it's been a long couple of days of baseball. First off, take us through that at bat.
Trying to see a pitch and hit it hard, and fortunately found the gap.
It's just as simple as that. Of course, how about this weekend, too? I mean, the grind, you played in 2 of the games. Gregor played in all of them. What about to be able to win this series, to have a successful homestand?
Good game. Good game. Both teams had a long day yesterday and came out today, played hard, and it's a good win. Go get them tomorrow.
Anything specific that you're looking for in that at-bat there?
See the ball hit hard.
Simple as that, right? All right. That is Jason Kendall. We'll let you go. Always a man of few words. But Gregor Blanco really making it happen on the base paths. All right, first of all, just tell me about that. You didn't have a hit all day, but you get the walk, then 2 stolen bases, and come home. Tell me about the approach there.
Well, it was a really hard day for everybody, after we played a double hitter yesterday. And we just tried to battle today, and have a good at-bats, and hopefully we win this ball game.
31 innings of baseball in the last about 22 hours, and you're as upbeat a guy as I know. And I saw you walking in this morning, rubbing the eyes, a little bit tired. How tough was it to come into the park today?
Really tough, really tough. It was a really hard day for everybody, for the White Sox too, and we know it was be a close game, and it was be hard for both.
And how about the body as well? You played in every single one of those innings here in this game over the last 22 hours. How are you feeling?
I feel great right now because we win. That's the whole thing. If we win, everything's fine.
All right, great job today, Gregor.
Thank you.
All right, that is Gregor Blanco, played in every inning of this epic series over the last couple of days. He scores the winning run. Guys, let's go back upstairs to you.
Well, at least from the Royals' point of view, it's no longer a long marathon series. It sure helps when you win 2-1, but we played 9 hours and 32 minutes of baseball in 3 games over 2 days because Game 1 on Friday was rained out.
Well, you're right, Ryan. I think Blanco said it best. When you lose and you go through a stretch like this, everything hurts and everything's a sour taste in your mouth. But when you win, everybody feels good. I'm not as tired when you win as you are when you lose.
And as it turns out, that's how Sean O'Sullivan gets his first win as a Royal. Pitching 1 inning out of the bullpen on a day he wasn't scheduled to pitch. Jason Kendall completes the Royals' second walk-off win of the series. The Royals win it 3-2.